Chapter 20. Spirit of Humanity vs. Pirates of the Mediterranean. Absurdity is the norm in the Gaza Strip. Stephanie Westbrook. June 15, 2009. Upon returning home from Gaza, a friend commented, "It must have been horrifying seeing all the destruction." And it was. The 22-day Israeli assault on the Gaza Strip laid waste to an already ravaged territory. The landscape is dotted with piles of rubble of bombed-out buildings, the twisted iron and aluminium of destroyed factories, once green fields, reduced to sand and dirt by Israeli tanks, apartments with 2-meter holes in the walls, and toppled minarets of mosques turned to ruins. But as devastating as bearing witness to the destruction was, it was the absurdities of the siege, the total blockade of Gaza imposed by Israel and Egypt that really affected me. Gaza itself remains frozen in time, for nearly 5 months after the ceasefire, aside from a few rare cases in which cinder blocks have been used to fill gaping holes in the sides of buildings. No reconstruction whatsoever has begun. The blockade keeps the necessary building materials out of Gaza. While traveling throughout Gaza with a delegation of mostly US citizens organized by Code Pink, the absurdities of the siege presented themselves over and over. At Al-Shifa Hospital, the largest in Gaza, we saw state-of-the-art isotope scan and radiotherapy machines in the oncology department that cannot operate because the radioactive material as well as the calibration tools have been refused entry by Israel. A row of dialysis machines sat unused, lacking the required fluids. As medical conditions in Gaza deteriorate because of the siege, many look for medical care abroad. However, the sealed borders prevent them from traveling. We met the director of an orphanage who had already lost the vision in one eye, was losing it in the other. He had been unable to obtain permission to travel to Egypt for eye care. Power outages are regular occurrences. The Gaza power plant simply cannot keep up with the demand because of a lack of fuel, which is blocked by Israel, as is supplemental electricity produced in Israel. There are both scheduled blackouts of 8 to 10 hours, as well as spontaneous outages. While touring the Al-Shifa hospital, the Minister of Health apologized for the heat in the room, saying their generator must be reserved for higher priority uses than air conditioning. Families are forced to carry their loved ones up the stairs, the elevators shut down during blackouts. The centers working to create employment opportunities for Gaza's women inevitably fall prey to the siege. Power cuts bring the sewing machines making dresses and linens to a standstill. Even the embroidery thread used to make traditional handicrafts must be smuggled in through the tunnels. The siege has also taken its toll on the father figure. According to Dr. Ziada of the Gaza Community Mental Health Program, with well over 50% unemployment due to the siege, children see their fathers as unable to provide for them. And during the war, they saw that their fathers were also unable to protect them. Children have started looking to other role models and make easy targets for those who, unfortunately, have no desire for peace. Education suffers under the siege. At a UN vocational training center in Khan Younis, the library consists of roughly 12 bookcases, but only 2 had any books at all, with half being photocopied manuals. The textbooks destined for the center have been held up in a storage facility in Jerusalem. The Israelis simply refuse to allow them in. The center is also unable to get the raw materials for their metal and woodworking courses. Sheriff, a university student studying business administration in his second year, is understandably proud of having top marks in his facility. His friends have nicknamed him the genius. Sheriff has been awarded a scholarship at Portland University in Oregon starting this fall. Unfortunately, the irrationality of the siege is likely to prevent him from being allowed to go. "If I can't get authorization by August, there goes my scholarship." A professor at Al-Aqsa University has been offered a position at the University of Manchester. However, he has been denied permission to travel. Professors are also unable to travel to attend international conferences. And students in the English department have a tough time finding native speakers with which to practice the language. Getting into Gaza is almost as difficult as getting out. Numerous projects for which funding has already been approved are currently suspended for the simple fact that the materials to complete them are not allowed in. Turkey has donated funds for a new university library, and Paltel, the Palestinian telecommunications company, has allocated funds for an information technology center. Both projects remain in limbo, victims of the siege. An official with the UN Relief and Works Agency remarked that it is also a problem to get the actual banknotes in. UNRWA, which provides services to more than 1 million registered refugees in the Gaza Strip, is often only able to get money in to pay the salaries of their 10,000 employees, while money to fund projects is blocked. Not only are Palestinians restricted in their movement in and out of Gaza, but also within. In late May, Israel began dropping thousands of leaflets near the border areas warning the people of Gaza not to come within 300 meters of the border or they would be fired on. Farmers are forced to risk their lives in order to work their fields that fate has placed too close to the border. The same restrictions are imposed on Palestinian fishermen. The sound of shots pierce the silence nightly as Israeli gunboats fire on fishing boats that dare to venture far enough away from the shore in order to catch fish, to sell and provide a living for their families. These are the absurdities that have become the norm in Gaza. But perhaps most absurd of all is how anyone can believe that Israel's severity in the closures, the destruction of the economy and social fabric of the Gaza Strip, will serve to convince Palestinians to place their trust in international law. What we in the international community must do is to heed the call we heard repeatedly from the people of Gaza: work to break the siege, so that they can take care of themselves. Hedy Epstein attacked yesterday. Written by Greta Berlin, vertical bar, the 18th of June 2009. Hedy Epstein, our wonderful 84-year-old Holocaust survivor, the woman who has been determined to come with us to Gaza this year, was attacked yesterday while walking home in her hometown in Missouri. Someone came up behind me and pushed me with both hands, throwing me to the ground. I cut an artery in my chin, and my knees are black and blue. I've got several stitches in my chin right now. When I looked up to see him, he was running as fast as he could away from me, said Hedy this morning. When talking to her friend's husband, he said, "Listen, in St. Louis, if someone is going to push you, they are after your purse. This was a targeted attack. And, if anyone else has either been attacked or been threatened, we want to know, because the police here need to know." Last year, when we were getting ready to go on our first trip to break Israel's blockade of Gaza, many of us were threatened by Israel firsters. Some even bragged that they would blow up our boat, sink it, or kill our children. Lauren Booth, the sister-in-law of Tony Blair, was threatened that her children would be killed. Those of us organizing the project were threatened as well. It didn't stop us then, and it won't stop us now. In January, when Hedy was interviewed on TV about Israel's war crimes in Gaza, she got several threatening phone calls: "We are going to come and find you, and we will take care of you." This message needs to go out far and wide to everyone appalled that pro-Israel thugs would push an 84-year-old woman to the ground in an attempt to hurt her and scare her from coming. When I hung up today, the last words Hedy said were, "Can I come later? Would you put me on the next trip?" The answer is a resounding yes. Press releases, brick by brick. By Free Gaza Team. Larnaca, the 18th of June 2009. In the final week in June, the Free Gaza movement will set sail on its 8th mission to break Israel's horrific siege and collective punishment of 1.5 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The Israelis violated international law by ramming the boat I was on, which was carrying medical supplies to Gaza. Therefore, I never got to Gaza. Especially after Operation Cast Lead, I want to go to Gaza, and if I'm lucky, one day, I'll also get to visit a free Palestine, said former Representative Cynthia McKinney, one of the passengers coming back. Mered Maguire, the Nobel Peace Prize winner from Ireland, is also going back, I'm going to Gaza to show my love and support for the people of Gaza who continue to suffer under Israeli siege and occupation, yet whose spirit of non-violent resistance inspires all who believe in equality, freedom and justice, she stated. It is crucial that we continue sending boats to Gaza to challenge Israel's criminal closure on the Strip, said Huwaida Araf, delegation leader of the June voyage. Gaza does not need our charity, but needs us to stand up against the forces that continue to deliberately deny an entire people their human rights. International donors pledged over $4 billion to rebuild Gaza, and yet none of them are doing anything about the fact that Israel is not allowing any building supplies into Gaza, not to mention thousands of other items such as anesthetics, oxygen and cancer treatments, chlorine to treat the water supply, as well as paper, books, and toys for children. Even tea and coffee have been banned. This voyage will be the first attempt to challenge Israel's naval blockade on the Gaza Strip since an Israeli gunship brutally rammed the Dignity in December 2008 and nearly sank the Spirit of Humanity with all on board in January. Boat by Boat by Free Gaza Team. Doha, the 22nd of June 2009. The Free Gaza movement will sail 240 miles from Cyprus to Gaza, its 8th mission to break Israel's draconian siege on 1.5 million Palestinians there. In the holds of the Spirit of Humanity will be tons of cement and suitcases full of toys, crayons, and coloring books for the children, all items banned by Israel's government. Two of the organizers, Huwaida Araf and Greta Berlin, as well as the Honorable Cynthia McKinney, former US Congresswoman from Georgia, held a press conference yesterday in Doha, Qatar. All three called on the world to recognize Palestinian human and civil rights, rights that have been denied for 61 years. People in Gaza are being made to live in subhuman conditions. Children are dying, and governments are silent. It is important to continue sending boats to Gaza to challenge the criminal blockade enforced by the Israeli military, said Ms. Araf. The group emphasized that what they are taking is only a token of what the people of Gaza need. They are hoping to buy a cargo boat to bring in larger amounts of building supplies via the sea route they aim to open. They ask for the financial support of people around the world to purchase this ship. Speaking to Al Jazeera and 8 other news organizations, Ms. Araf emphasized, international donors pledged over $4 billion to rebuild Gaza, yet none of them are doing a thing about the fact that Israel allows no building supplies into the territory. So we are leaving for Gaza to tell the world to do something. When asked what guarantees the group has received from the Israeli government, both Berlin and Araf frowned. We do not seek permission from or coordinate with the Israeli authorities. Israel has grossly abused its authority as an occupying power, daily violating the human rights of Palestinians and imposing collective punishment on them. It is past time for the international community to stop abetting Israel's illegal closure policy, stated Ms. Araf. Mile by Mile by Free Gaza Team. Larnaca, the 24th of June 2009. As the Free Gaza movement gets ready to set sail on our 8th mission, many of our passengers are reflecting about why we are sailing to besieged Gaza. Ahmed is returning to his home in Gaza. Israeli occupying forces will not allow him to see his mum. I have tried to go home for 6 years, and for 6 years I have not been allowed to see my mother, and she is terribly ill. This is my chance to go home. I must go home. 16 nations are represented on this voyage. Many of us have traveled thousands of miles to show the world that we will not stand by while the Palestinians of Gaza continue to be violated. I've flown in from Bahrain to tell my sisters in Gaza that we will never rest until the world knows what has happened to them, stated Johanna, a young woman from Bahrain. When we left last August, I told the people of Gaza we would come back, and I've flown 5,000 miles to keep that promise, said Mary Hughes Thompson, one of the co-founders of the movement. I'm returning to the friends that I made when I went in October, said Merritt Maguire, Nobel Peace Laureate. They must know that we have not and will not forget them. The tons of cement, that our small boat carries are just a token of what is needed to rebuild the Gaza Strip, but the hope in the hearts of the passengers cannot be measured by weight. Miles and miles they have traveled to get to Cyprus, miles more they will travel tomorrow to get to Gaza. The spirit of humanity will proudly fly the flags of 16 nations, the flags of people who are determined not to forget the horror of an occupation that has lasted 41 years. Formal notification of intent to travel. June 24, 2009. To the Israeli Ministry of Defense, fax 972-3697-67172, the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, fax 972-2